Before we get into the video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so that you never miss another video. Thank you. Have you ever been to Yorkshire in the north of England? If you haven't, you really should. It's a huge county with lots of open spaces, perfect for those who enjoy long walks in the countryside. I am one of those outdoor people and have spent countless hours meandering through the expanse of green fields. There is one place I would recommend you avoid, for it does not exist. Let me explain. There is a village that I stumbled upon many years ago when I was on one of my walks. It's more of a hamlet really, but it doesn't and didn't show up on any maps. And it's really weird. I started a walk called All Hallows Loop. Spooky, right? It was a clear spring day and my dog and I were ready and raring for the 6-mile hike. We found this particular one online and were looking forward to the pub lunch halfway through. Well, I was anyway. The route wasn't very populated. I only came across 2 other sets of ramblers on my way to the halfway checkpoint. I didn't mind. It felt like I had the whole horizon to myself, untouched and peaceful. No distractions or worries. Just the awareness of everything around me. About an hour in, we started to see a few buildings pop up and decorate the skyline. My stomach gave a little growl as if it knew what was coming in the near future. I chuckled and began to look forward to the, quote, world-famous homemade pie and chips, unquote. As we approached the village, I called my dog and attached the lead. I could see the pub ahead, so I didn't need to reach in my bag for the map. The White Lion pub, in that ye olde fashion writing, a typically British staple. A little voice in my head popped up and said, "It's supposed to be the Red Lion pub." I dismissed the thought immediately. I'd clearly not remembered it correctly. I went through the garden gate and found a table to sit at in the sun. It was a beautiful pub with a gorgeous view of the countryside and that barbecue smoke smell I love so much in the summer. My stomach gave another appreciative growl. The garden was completely empty, so I went to check the map to see what time it opens when a friendly waitress emerged. She told me that they were indeed open and went to fetch me a menu. I laughed and told her that I already knew what I wanted. A steak pie and chips with half a cider, please. Oh, and a bowl of water for the puppy, if that's okay. The waitress smiled and said she'd bring them right out. Not even 2 minutes later, she was back with a tray carrying our spoils. The smell was absolutely heavenly. She asked if she could get us anything else, and then left when I said I was all good. I tucked in and took my first bite. It was simply delicious. The best pie I'd ever tasted. I dug in and took my time eating. As I did, more patrons arrived and took seats at surrounding tables. I was so absorbed in my meal that I didn't realize how full the garden had become. And how quiet. As I was left full and satisfied, not a chip left on my plate, I sat back and became aware of the people. They were all quietly sitting at their tables, watching me. No one had ordered anything. No drink or plate of food adored anyone else's table. I had the most blatant feeling that I wasn't welcome, and that I should leave. I rose from my seat, intent on going into the bar to pay. Around 40 pairs of eyes rose with me. I didn't know what to say. I was completely outnumbered. What an awful reception. Totally disparate from what the reviews had claimed. the waitress met me at the door like she'd known I was finished. "Thank you for dining with us," she said. "This one is on the house if you promise not to return." I took a step away from her, cash still in my hand and unsure what to say, when everyone in the garden screamed in unison, "Leave us alone!" Heart hammering, I ran as fast as I could, my dog whining and yelping and tugging on her lead, trying to make us move faster. About a mile out of town, exhausted and panting, we stopped, and I collapsed to the floor sobbing. It was the most frightening experience of my life. I pulled out my phone to call the police when I stopped. What would I tell them? Did those people do anything illegal? Well, no. I don't think so. I calmed myself down and continued walking the loop at a quicker pace, desperate to find refuge in my car and get away from this place. Not long after, I saw a sign for a village. Home upon Spalding Moor, 1/2 a mile. I almost didn't register what that meant. I'd just come from there. Hadn't I? A mile in the opposite direction. Confused, we continued, when we came across the village and right at the centre, the Red Lion pub. What the hell? I didn't understand what was happening. There were people milling around everywhere. Teenagers hanging out in groups, families swinging children from their arms, and dog walkers wishing me a cheery good afternoon. I entered the Red Lion in a daze and walked up to the bar. I asked the barmaid nervously if she knew what the village with the White Lion pub was, just a mile or so to the east. She froze in place and told me to take a seat. She was going to get her manager. Totally bewildered by this point, I sat down and waited. A kindly-looking older woman approached me. She told me that there was a village that was destroyed by fire hundreds of years ago in that same location. The houses were all made of wood, so nothing remained. But every now and then, a lonely traveller will stumble upon that village that smells of barbecue smoke. The village that does not exist.